Okay, here we are, Citizen's Eye, tonight at the Chromaphilia exhibition that's just opening at Pedestrian Arts, and I've got with me artist Simon Woolerton.
Hello.
Hi Simon.
Hello.
Can you tell me about your work in the exhibition?
Yeah, a number of years now I've been interested in taking sound and passing it through filters and seeing what happens to it afterwards. It's come from a sort of much more philosophical point about the nature of filters, the nature of information. We pass out information that seems to be categorical, passes through individuals' biases, their own sort of biases or their prejudices, and it comes out as something completely different. And I was always interested in that notion, and so I've kind of explored it in a number of ways. And then a number of years ago, playing around with computer packages, trying to get the idea that while information is in transit across the internet, wherever, it's all just digitised into binary, so it's ones and zeros. It's only once it's passed into the correct sort of software package that has that kind of label that it's reconstructed in the correct way. So at that stage it's just ones and zeros. And I like the idea of confusing it, passing it through deliberately at different and seeing what happened. And I did it in the reverse a lot. So I actually went and took good quality images of classic paintings, for instance, and then convinced these software packages that it was receiving a stream of code which was sound, and it would try to reconstruct it so you could listen to a painting. And at that stage I was doing a lot of sound art and a lot of kind of experimental music. So I flipped it round for this series and recorded my own voice. So in this one I said the word blue. I just recorded that and then disguise that file and pass it through a graphics filter, and it tries to reconstruct that code into image, and it does its best. And then I pass that through then several filters of my own bias, my own prejudices. So I tweak the colours and I constrain the proportions. But essentially, that visual information is what it is. It's the sound of me saying blue, and then it passes through that final filter then of me translating it or transposing it from that digital print to paint. And again, it passes through, even though I try initially really hard to be very faithful to the original, inevitably I'm biased, and my passion about colour and about spatial qualities of colour and colour relationships will influence it inevitably, and so they change again. So the final result is passed through many filters but become something unique.
Okay, we've talked about blue here.
Yeah.
What was this one behind me? That looks actually more blue than the other one.
It does, and this is the delicious irony. Yeah. So this one actually is me saying indigo.
Right. Yeah.
So you're completely reliant on the vagaries of that binary code when that comes out, and each time I say it, I'm not doing it in a clean environment as well, so that there may be some traffic noise behind or whatever.
Yeah.
But essentially, that's the code that you're left with. It reconstructs it into an image, and in this case, it did seem to choose this narrow band of hues.
Yeah.
But I found that equally fascinating, and so when it's reconstructed, it's called indigo, but it's actually the bluest.
Would people be able to translate this back into the word?
That's the question everybody asks. Yeah, what's the next stage? I almost put on my thing, the obvious next stage is to then redigitize it and pass it through. Yes, and I intend to do that. Have I done that with these yet? No.
Yeah.
I certainly don't expect it to, when it goes through that final process, to come out as a clean voice saying indigo.
Oh, right.
I think it'll be.
That's indigo. Is that partly because of the bias you might have put on it in the process?
Absolutely. All of those processes will have completely altered, all of that information. So it will just be white noise.
So you could, in fact, start developing a new language from that?
Absolutely. And it could carry on passing back and forward ad infinitum,
That's amazing. And the final one here?
Yep. Violet.
Violet, right.
Just probably happens to have, quite a high violet content. But that's just pure luck.
Interesting. And the small pieces behind?
Small pieces were wanting to pass it through another filter. It was either going to be the sound, but in the end I decided that what I would do was redigitise these paintings and then mix all of those colours, all the dominant colours in each of the paintings, mix together to see what tertiary grey you end up with. And they still occupy their own sort of place in space, and they still have a relationship, but it's going to be on a much more sort of subtle basis. So these are genuinely made, so that one's blue. That's when you mix all of those colours together from the blue one, that's the grey that you end up with. And likewise, the indigo and violet. And so it's the final sort of visual stage in that.
Great. Simon, how long can people see your work here for at Pedestrian?
It's here till the 30th.
Great. And I heartily recommend people to come along and see it. It's absolutely fascinating. And Simon, thanks for the interview
Thank
tonight.
you very much.
And good luck with the exhibition.
Thank you very much.